And it's another episode of the Moped Outlaws.
Greg and Greg. And our special guest. And that's an inside joke. If you guys take all 2 seconds of this wonderful ride with Jon Paul, who has learned breath work as a means to heal emotional trauma that has been held in one's body, whether it's from one's life or generationally passed down. And he has certainly led a life that is very rich and has, I think his authenticity comes from challenges he's lived through.
I agree. And as much as this feels like a woo-woo subject or a serious subject, there's a boyish joy that comes through this whole conversation. For me, I had a really good time. I was laughing. Greg was laughing. Jon Paul was laughing. You're in for a treat, a real ride, and enjoy it. And please subscribe, donate to Blast and Compton Cowboys, and share the videos. That helps us a lot. And send us a note, write something in the chat, or send us an email at thehosts@mopedoutlaws.com. We want to hear from you.
Enjoy the ride.
Sis, hallo?
Blijven.
Stuur zeker wegen them.
Yo je iets niet, joh.
Two outlaws on the lam, taking the back roads through America.
You can't drink enough coffee for this show.
And now it's time for Monday Madness with the Moped Outlaws, Greg and Mark.
Welcome to another episode of Drinking with Jon Paul Crimi. No, I'm just kidding. Welcome to an episode of Moped Outlaws. My name is Greg. No, it's not. It's Mark. See?
Oh, we're off to a great start.
It's going to be fun. Our guest today is Jon Paul Crimi. Jon Paul Crimi. I'm butchering his name. I'm batting.
It's all right. Everybody does. Just roll with it.
He appears to be a Billy Joel fan. And his main thing, other than having started several successful businesses over the course of his life, is he's now really, really focused on being of service to humanity through the awareness of breath work and how that can transform your inner world and create the means by which your outer world can be the thing you want it to be. Welcome to the show with Jon Paul. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk to you guys. It's going to be a lot of fun.
So I've done a fair amount of the practice you teach in my life.
Did you do my class?
No. It's part of other men's initiations that I've been part of.
Oh, okay.
And I'm also a sometimes practitioner of the Wim Hof breathing method.
Okay.
And one of the things that I noticed on your YouTube channel was that you talked a little bit about the why you shouldn't practice both at once, which also led into kind of what it is that people, the anxiety they might feel about doing with breath work. Rather than start there, I'd love to talk about, see, I got Greg laughing. It's going to be a great show. I'd love for you to talk a little bit about what the health benefits are. I know particularly there's an issue for you around your thyroid. I think people understand the ideas of brown fat and cold plunging from that perspective, and breath work is another component of that. Can you say something about how breath work impacts your physiological state?
Okay, great. So the first thing I think we need to establish is that breath work is an umbrella term, right? It's like saying fitness. So if I came on the show and I'm like, I do fitness, you'd be like, okay, cool. What do you do? Do you do CrossFit? Do you do Soul Cycle?
Bro, do you lift?
Yeah, like can you lift, bro? And so you'd be like, what kind of fitness are you doing? Because breath work is all over the place. It's all over the map. You've got Wim Hof, you've got box breathing, you've got coherent breathing, you've got the style that, and I know all of them. I've done them all. I love them all. There's one particular type, method, style that I focus on, and that's circular breath work, conscious connected breathing. It's an intense breathing through the mouth technique that you do for like 30 minutes in my class. and it clears out stress, anxiety, depression, helps with grief, helps with all this kind of like health issues in your body. And the most common statement after my class is, holy shit, that felt like 20 years of therapy without having to say a word. And when I say that, people are like, that's what I need. I need that. I don't want to go to a therapist. I'll come to your breathing class and lay down. Right. And one of the things that's amazing about it is the more you kind of think it's ridiculous or think it's bullshit or whatever, the bigger the experience you have. Like it's immediate and it's undeniable. You don't have to believe me that something's going to happen. You just have to fucking show up and breathe and it's going to happen. Something's going to happen. I don't know what, because it's different for everybody and it's different every time you do it. And the reason I was asking you like, oh, did you try my class? Because there's a lot of people out there doing it now. When I started 15 years ago, there was like only a few woo-woo new agey people. And I was the first guy to do it in a different way and like do it scientifically and bring in some, motivational stuff.
The point of my question is, what is the biological thing that's happening? What is going on physiologically?
So you want to know the science. Great. When we do breathwork exercises, most of them are through the nose, right? Like not Wim Hof, but most of them are through the nose, and that's parasympathetic, right? When I do it, that's going to rest. That's going to calm my nervous system. That's going to stimulate my vagus nerve and calm my nervous system. That's a great, simple technique that I use all the time in traffic, on the plane, when we hit turbulence, when I'm going to say something stupid to my wife that I'm going to regret for the rest of the day. I'm like, don't fucking say it. Don't say it. Yeah. So that's a great, simple technique. Parasympathetic, rest and digest. When we breathe through our mouth, right? I'm breathing into my belly, my chest. This is the technique. That's a totally different animal. That's sympathetic. That's fight or flight. Why would we do that? Well, because that's where all the stuff is stored. The stuff is stored, the trauma, the grief, the guilt, the shame, it's all stored in your sympathetic nervous system. And we're doing that in an intentional way to clear that stuff out, to release that stuff. I have so many people, myself included, have come to my class and be like, I fucking thought I did it all. I did the therapy. I did the 12-step. I did Tony Robbins. I did, all the things. I thought I'd worked on myself, but it was all up here, right? The stuff is living in your body. It's living in your nervous system. It's living in your cells. Listen, this isn't me coming up with this. This is science. Science has proven that trauma is passed on through the DNA. So you thought you were screwed up because of your parents, and you're right. It is their fault. Call them and let them know. No, don't do that. Don't call your parents.
Yeah. And knowing that or calling them isn't going to shift it.
No. And so it's now that you're aware of that, what are you going to do about it? Right? Are you going to do the work? Are you going to change the story in your family? Because you can, right? But you have to be willing to do something different. Everybody thinks they have an open mind, especially people who don't. I've never met anyone that doesn't think I have a closed mind. Have you ever met anyone that said they had a closed mind? No, everyone fucking thinks they have an open mind. And I'll go, hey, why don't you come try the breathing class? They're like, I'm good. I'm like, then you don't have an open mind. You don't.
Well, so the emotions are stored in the parasympathetic nervous system, right? Because the parasympathetic nervous system, we call it commonly as triggering people, right? And so what happens when you get triggered?
Sympathetic, not parasympathetic. Sympathetic is rest and digest. Sympathetic.
Oh, parasympathetic. Okay.
No, sympathetic is the fight or flight.
Right. So what I mean is you're making deposits all the time in your parasympathetic nervous system. Every time you go, or you like...
You're sympathetic, not parasympathetic.
Not parasympathetic.
Okay. Right now I'm triggered. No, I'm just kidding. So
you're too old to be triggered. That's a different generation.
I've been getting triggered since I was a kid. No, I'm just kidding. But no, the point I'm making is that we are making deposits in that physiological bank account all our lives.
That's a great way to put it. Yes.
Right. And every time that we have a sympathetic reaction that is stressing our body or stressing our psychology, we hold that in our cellular makeup.
Yes.
And in order to release it, you have to create the right chemical cocktail in the body and sustain it for a period of time.
Yeah.
So what's happening with CO2 and oxygen during circular breathing?
So there's a thing that happens when you do this, and it depends on how fast you go, right? When I first started doing breath work, there's a thing called tetany where people's hands cramp up like this. Have you ever got this or seen this before? Yeah. So I would ask, well, what causes the tetany? And it was 15 years ago, it was all woo-woo teachers. So they were like, it's the moon, it's the star, you're detoxing off weed. I'm like, no, there's some fucking science here, and I'm going to find out what it is. So I had a theory because I was doing these sold out classes, and I would see certain people tweak out more with the tetany. And I brought in a health and science researcher from Harvard, and I said, I think they're pushing the exhale too hard. And that's exactly what was happening. When you exhale super hard and you're not really inhaling, you're throwing off more CO2. And we actually need CO2 in our body. CO2 binds to the oxygen, and so we can absorb oxygen in our body. But when you breathe this way, you're throwing off the CO2. And a little bit of that is fine. And what it actually does, one of the things it does, is it turns off the brain a little bit. It's called transient hypofrontality. Part of the prefrontal cortex of our brain can shut down from doing this. And that's the area of the brain where the critic lives, where the ego lives, right? That tells you you're not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not rich enough. I'm not funny enough. I'm not hairy enough. In some way, I'm not enough. If you guys are listening to this, I have no hair. So I don't know if anyone's not watching and they're just listening. I'm hairless. So, and I tell people about that too. Like, I have no eyebrows. I have alopecia. If you don't think your emotions can affect your health, then go find my eyebrows, because they're gone, right? Because that's a physical manifestation from an emotional thing. That happened to me physically from my emotions. So our emotions affect our body. They affect our health. And so people who are pushing all their shit down inside of them, it's only a matter of time before stuff's going to happen to you.
Right. The body will eventually express itself. And the idea behind the breath work that you're teaching, which you're calling circular breathing, is that you unlock the barriers to releasing all of that stuff.
Yes.
And then by repeating the practice, you clean out the old stuff over time.
Yes. And that's, you're so aware. You're on this. I love it. When a rabbit gets chased in the forest and almost gets killed by the fox and it gets away, it shakes to release that trauma that it almost just got killed. This is one of our mechanisms that we can use to release that same stuff. A lot of people don't realize they're walking around breathing really shallow up in the chest and holding their breath all the time, because the emotions are stored down here in the belly. And if you just start breathing deep, sometimes you'll start to feel it. Just people will come in and start to do the deep breathing, and they'll start to have the emotions right away. So I always like to say, change your breath, change the emotion, change your life. But I used to hear all the time before I found this work, like, you're overreacting. Like, because the situation would be like a 3 and I would be at like a 9, because it's all old stuff that's triggering me and making me overreact to the situation. Once I did the breath work and did it, like you said, on a regular basis, I cleared all those layers of things out. And it's like, it's not that I don't ever get mad, because there's a lot of assholes out there in the world. So some people are going to piss me off, and I'm still going to get mad. I'm still going to have things happen, but my reaction is appropriately sized for the situation now. I'm not overreacting out of old stuff being brought up in the situation.
Yeah, so we call it Zen when we have a deep well of resilience, meaning we've cleaned out most of the old stuff. And so we have a lot more bandwidth, a lot more flexibility, a lot more emotional resilience, so that when something does come up, it doesn't involve our body at the level of all of the trauma that we've had over the years. And as you can tell, I'm somewhat of a practitioner, and we'll talk later about your thing about whether coaching is bullshit or not. We'll talk about that later. But
here's the thing. People come to my class. So it sounds like you've done a lot of work, and that's amazing. Good for you. And so people come to my class who have done other breathwork with other people, and you either love me or you hate me, because I'm a different kind of animal. I do a really funny presentation the first 10 minutes because it's heavy. I'm talking about generational trauma, and I try and lighten it up. And I do a demonstration where I'm like, talking like, what's going on? Why is he playing this song? I'm so hungry, like I'm thinking about pancakes. Like I do a little demonstration. Who's crying already? What's going on in their life? Oh shit, that's me crying already. It's my father's fault. So I do this whole demo, right? And then I play cool music, and not like, I play like Led Zeppelin and The Who and all kinds of shit in my breathwork class. And I'm coaching you over the music, like full on coaching you. Like, come on, you've done harder shit, Mark, than lay on the floor and breathe. You got this. It's not that hard. So I'm coaching you over the music. And then as we get deeper into the breath work, I start to say emotional stuff because I want to crack people open. And I start to get emotional because I believe what comes from the heart goes to the heart. So I think this is where my gift lies, is I allow myself to get really vulnerable in my classes and I open up. And I want to be moved. I want to move people and I want to be moved. I don't want to just teach a fucking class. I want to fucking move people and I want to feel it. So I allow myself to get really vulnerable. And then after the breath work, at the end, we do this massive yell. You know, fuck you, dad, whatever, no judgment, you know, and we let it all out. And then there's a rest song, and then another song comes on, and I'll say, put one arm in the air and find a moment in your life where you felt this gratitude, right? And I'll have you pull in moments of gratitude, moments of love, because I don't want you to just leave like, holy shit, some trauma came up from when I was 8 years old, and that, whoa. I want you to leave filled with gratitude and love, because ultimately that's what matters, and that's what I want you to walk out the door with. So I have this opportunity when you've had this big emotional release where your heart is wide open and you're vulnerable, and I want to bring you back to what's important, what really matters. So it's a class that I've created and honed over 15 years of doing it.
Yeah. I really want Greg to get his voice in here, so I'm going to shut up.
I'm wondering, what do your Bostonian neighbors say about this guy who's talking about gratitude and peace?
Yeah, you know, it's funny. You know, I moved from Boston to LA when I was 23, and now I'm in Bend, Oregon. I've been here for like 8-9 years.
Oh, okay.
But there was a little thing when I first started posting on social media about the breathwork that I was like, I wonder what these people are going to think. Like, they're going to see me with a gong behind me. Like, I didn't even know, like, that didn't even exist in my world. One of the beautiful things about breathwork is it has freed me from other people's opinions. I don't give a shit what people think of like me. Other people's opinions of me have none of my business. And I want to help people. And in order to do that, I have to put it out there. And so I was the first guy to really start putting this on social media. I was the first guy to run ads around breathwork. I was the first guy to do breathwork, circular breathwork online. And I put my teacher trainings online as well. And and then when I was coming back to Boston, some of them reached out and like, hey, will you do a class for us? And I tell you, that was one of the most challenging classes I've ever done out of all the classes, because, you know, I knew everyone in the room. My father was there, my sister was there, one of my best friends was there. And like, this person used to be married to this person, and now they're married to this person over here. And then her ex, you know, committed suicide, and this person lost their sister and their brother, who were my closest friends. And like, it was a really heavy class, but people had an experience like they always do. It was just harder for me, you know, personally. It's much easier to work with strangers. And, you know, like, letting go of other people's opinions, it's the biggest regret. They've done studies. The biggest regret people have at the end of their life is they wish they didn't live so much for other people. They wish they didn't care so much about other people's opinions. So if you can let go of that, you can really like live an authentic life and so much more to what you want and have no regrets at the end.
What differentiates that from narcissism?
Well, I think narcissism is, it's all about me. It's all about me, what I'm trying to get, what I need to get. For me, it's about how do I help other people? Like, I'm always focused on like, how can I change as many lives as I can on this planet while I'm here with this incredible breathwork that I've learned. And it's not about the fucking money. It's like, I don't care about the money. I'm trying to change as many lives as I can. Right. And I tell my students, like, it doesn't matter if there's 2 people in the room or 200 people in the room. If you help 2 people, that's incredible. That's an incredible thing. It brings you purpose. It brings you fulfillment. It fills me up. Narcissists are just like, what can I get? What's me, you know? And I know, because I've worked with a ton of them. I worked with a ton of celebrities, and they're very narcissistic.
Well, I want to make a distinction here, because you said what fills me up.
Yeah.
And so there's a sensation that goes with that, right? There's an awareness, like you have an emotional state, but there's also, as we know, emotions are energy in the body. So there's this corollary sort of physical reaction that you experience when you're filled up. I think narcissists can't feel that. They can't feel full up. It's an endless pit. It's what the Buddhists call the hungry ghost.
Yeah.
But it's run amok.
Yeah. I don't think they get that same thing, what you're talking about, fulfillment from helping other people. They get it from getting from other people, from taking. They're almost always takers. And if they are doing something for you, it's because there's an angle there.
Right.
They're trying to work an angle to get something for themselves. I know.
It's my theory that thing you're describing isn't actually feeling filled up. It's this endless cycle of needing to try to keep filling up, and it just ratchets up and up and up and up and up, which is why we get runaway narcissistic behavioral things. But let's move the conversation back to what it is you do. I'm wondering.
I just want to say one thing.
Go ahead.
One of the things that I keep on my forefront of my mind to not become the narcissist guru breathwork guy, because I've done classes in Tony Robbins' event and I did the largest breathwork class in Switzerland, is like, it's the breathwork that's doing the thing. That I'm not the thing. The breathwork is doing it. I'm really good at facilitating, but you're doing it in the breath. You're doing it yourself with the breathwork. I'm not the thing. I'm not the guru. I'm a fucking asshole half the time. And it just makes me less of an asshole doing this work. So
yeah. Is there any asshole breath work, like expulsion work that no, I'm just kidding. I'm going for it with the humor, guys. I'm sorry if that offends you. All right, Paul, I'm interested in a distinction.
Jon Paul. My father's name is
Jon
Paul. Now I'm triggered, Mark. Thanks.
See, Mark.
I want to restore integrity with you, Jon Paul. I'm here to hear your feelings.
Thank you. I feel heard. Thank you.
All right. Now I forgot my question.
Sorry.
All right,
No, don't be. It's not your brain.
Greg has a question.
Yeah. I'm wondering what was going on 15 years ago that brought you into this realm.
How did I find breath work?
What, more importantly,
why were you looking?
Yeah.
Well, I was really disillusioned by the Hollywood career thing. I was a screenwriter and I had gotten really close with a bunch of scripts. I was in development with Ron Howard and Brian Grazier on a project, and I was in development with the guys that did Transformers on another project. And I was so frustrated, and I had helped a ton of guys get sober, and I was kind of in a place of like, where's mine? Like, where's mine? Like, I've helped all these guys and they all become fucking rich and famous. And I'm like, where the fuck is mine? Like one guy was like a crackhead who broke out his teeth, didn't want to drop the crack rock when he fell off his bike. And then 2 years later, he pulls up in a brand new Porsche and I'm like driving a Honda Accord still, right? Like, and he's like, isn't this cool? I'm like, yeah, it's a miracle. I'm really happy for you. Like, and so I was really frustrated and disillusioned. And I was hanging out with Matthew Perry, and we were going to like the Los Angeles Kings game, and we were in the LA Staples Center during the Stanley Cup finals. Like they're about to win the cup, and we're in this little VIP room between periods, and there's all the celebrities in there. There's Will Ferrell and Vince Vaughn and Zac Efron, and in walks Tony Robbins. And I go, holy fuck, it's Tony Robbins. Matthew goes, really? Every celebrity in LA is in here right now. We've been following the Kings all season. They're about to win the cup. You're excited about a gigantic man coming into the room. And I was like, yeah, he's amazing. He, I had his tapes in high school. I read his book, and he's like changed lives, and I love his work. He goes, go tell him. I go, no, I don't want to bug him. Like people bug you. So I'm walking back through the tunnel, and Tony looks up from his phone. He goes, hey man, how's it going? I go, I never do this. I know everybody says that, but I'm a huge fan. I love your work. And he goes, have you ever been in my seminar? And I go, no. He goes, well, I only do 3 domestically a year. I'd love it if you come next month as my personal VIP guest. And I go, get the hell out of here. So I went to the seminar, and something in there cracked open inside of me. And I said, I'm done. I'm done with the Hollywood shit. I don't want to do it anymore. I'm just going to help people. I don't know what that looks like, but I know I'm really good at helping people. And then right after that, I found breathwork through Matthew Perry, actually. And it cracked me open again. Right. So I was having all these big awakenings, and I started to go down this rabbit hole of breath work. Like, what else is out there? How is all this shit out there? Tony had opened my mind, and then I was willing to go do all this stuff. And so I got like all these weird gurus and whatever. And I had a realization in one of my first breathwork sessions, like, why doesn't everybody know about this? This is the most incredible thing I've ever done. Like, this is releasing all this stuff. People around me, my clients, my friends were like, dude, you're a different guy. Are you medicated all of a sudden? Like, you're present, you're happy. What's going on? And I'm like, I'm doing this weird breathing thing. And they're like, what's the breathing thing? Show me. So I started showing clients and friends, and they're like, what? And this woman asked me to do a class. And I was like, I don't know. I've never taught a class. And she's like, please just do a class. Come on, you'd be amazing at it. And I invited some friends, Matthew Perry being one of those friends. And afterwards, Matthew's like, dude, I know you want to do the Hollywood thing, but this is your gift. Like, this is what you're supposed to do. And sometimes you have to let go of your dreams to step into your destiny.
Yeah. I like that a lot. That's very good.
At the point that go ahead, Greg, you had a question.
Well, okay, because I'm also wondering, but as an outsider from Matthew Perry's life, my knowledge of him is he was deeply troubled, and the excesses of drugs and alcohol is what eventually killed him. And I'm wondering a couple things. One, as a friend, can you give some real insight of who the individual is? And the other thing I'm wondering is how come this tool that I'm hearing from you, Matthew was engaged with and actually introduced you to, did not heal him the way you and so many others have experienced?
That's a great question. You know, sobriety and self-love is a maintenance program. It's not something we can do one time and then we're good. It's like I went to a meeting. I just came from a meeting this morning. It's like people are like, you're still going 26 years later? Yeah, I need to go. I need to hear the language of recovery. I need to hear what other people are struggling with. And if I'm struggling, I need to share that. But also, if I didn't go, who would pass it on? It's a maintenance program. So I'm up early in the morning going to a meeting at 26 years sober. I'm doing the breath work still. I'm going to get in the fucking cold plunge today. I don't like the cold plunge. Nobody likes the goddamn cold, but my body is wrecked. And in order for me to keep doing Brazilian jiu-jitsu, which I love, I have to do the cold plunge. So these are maintenance programs. And if you fall off the maintenance program, it's only a matter of time before that demon, devil, whatever you're going to call it, comes knocking at the door and is like, I'm back. Remember me? Because it's a really scary thing when your brain gives you bad information, when it tells you like, you know, I'm not enough, or I'm this, or you're that. And if you're not checking in with other people, if you're not connected to other people, if you don't have community and you're not going, hey, listen, my head told me this crazy story today, whatever, you know, it's only a matter of time where you start to believe the lies in your head. And then what are you going to do about it? You're going to take a drink, you're going to take a drug to shut it off, or you're going to kill yourself. And isolation is the worst thing. Like, I've worked with a lot of celebrities. They get really isolated, unfortunately, because they don't know who to trust. They don't know who their real friends are. And, you know, you can't go to Matthew couldn't go to the supermarket because people would film what he was putting in his shopping cart, you know, and put it on the internet. So you get so isolated from reality and people and community that you just don't have that connection. Human beings need connection. We thrive off connection. There's all kinds of proof around this, the stories that are horrific that I could tell, but I don't want to.
No, but it occurs to me that the balm for that disconnect is to be, like you were saying, you don't care about people's opinions. You, Jon Paul, are going to live your moment to moment authentically. And if someone has an opinion about that, that's their thing.
Yeah, I should preface that because I don't care about strangers' opinions. Like, I have an inner circle of people that I trust and love, that I know, that know me really well, that might be like, hey, dude, I think you're off the beam on this one right here. And I'll be like, okay, I can hear that. You know, but for like strangers on the internet, like, who gives a shit? I'm in agreement with Mike Tyson, where like people have gotten too comfortable disrespecting other people on the internet without getting punched in the face. So I think, you know, I really think, like, would you say that to my face? You know? So
Right.
I have an inner circle of people that have known me forever, for, you know, that I would go to them with things and be like, is this okay? Is this me, or is this something else? You know? And so I have an inner circle that I trust. It's not that I now I understand the narcissism comment. I'm not like out in the world, like, I'm just going to do whatever I want and I don't give a shit about anybody else. That's not it at all. But yeah, other people that aren't, that don't know me, that don't know what it is I've done and who I've helped and what, you know, where I've come from. Like, I'm not going to let that, their opinion doesn't matter to me.
Right. And to have accountability with whatever they're saying, you know, like, I imagine your inner circle, you can challenge their statements. There's a communication happening.
Yeah. Yeah. There's people that that have known me for a long, long time, that know me better than anyone else. And so I can take that to them. Like, this is what's going on.
So when you came to the decision to let go of this Hollywood dream that
Mhm.
you had, was that a painful experience?
I think it was freeing. Like, and that's how you know it's the right decision. It's like, okay, I'm gonna let this go. I think this is gonna be really unpopular, and maybe there's this story out there that's like, never let go of your dreams, never give up on your dreams. So it's like, well, yeah, maybe you should give up on your dreams if you're 50 something years old in an apartment with 6 cats and lonely, and like you're still hoping you're gonna get your big break, right? Like when you could have done something else along the way that you were really good at, that would have given you some purpose, that would have made you feel good and had a whole different life. The people who say that are people who made it, who hit the lottery. For every one of them who says never give up on your dreams because they hit the lottery, there's hundreds of thousands of people who are miserable following their dream.
Yeah. And how do you differ? Like Tony Robbins has come up a bit. One of the statements I love from him is, burn your boats, let go of all the things that could pull you away from where you're heading, and to differentiate when it's not working is a very difficult. It's a very personal decision, I guess.
It's hard too when you get really close to it. When you get really close to succeeding at it, and then be like, I'm so close, but you can be so close for a decade like I was, right? And you're just like, but then I'm doing this other thing over here. This is what one of my teachers told me, right? I'm really close to the screenwriting thing. I had $1 million screenplay deal that fell apart. I was heartbroken, right? And I'm really close to it, but like people are calling me to help them with the breath work. It's like, this is what a fucking calling looks like, Jon Paul. People are literally calling you on the phone. That's a calling when they're calling you. Like, people were begging me to come do classes and come to my studio and do sessions with me. And he's like, it's the easier way. Like, I'm not swimming upstream anymore. Now I'm floating on my back. And when I do these sessions with people, I feel really good about myself.
Yeah, I would like to add a distinction about the giving up the dreams part. And it's a semantic distinction, but I think it'll land. It's not that you need to give up your dreams. It's that you need to give up your delusions.
Yeah.
The parts where you're not in alignment with what you think it is really the reason it's not working. And so then just leaving that there, I want to move on in the conversation, because one of the things that I looked at when I was doing some research about you is that you train folks to do this, which is another way of having a multiplier effect in your life. And I love that. But there's this question that came up for me around traditionally, we refer to folks as underserved or BIPOC people, and they have a whole other set of challenges. And I'm wondering if you could say a little bit about the cultural makeup of the bulk of your clients, and if you've noticed anything with people who are indigenous or a people of color for which breath work is particularly challenging, and that there's a certain kind of special training that's needed in order to serve that community.
I don't think there's special training needed, but I do think there is great value of somebody else who is BIPOC taking BIPOC people through, right? Like, and I've had BIPOC people come to my training and be like, I didn't want to train with you because you're a fucking old white guy. But when I looked around at all the different people out there doing the trainings, you're the person who resonated the most with me. Your style, the way you present it, like the no nonsense approach, like you're the person who resonated the most. And I'm like, I get it. I can't, this is who I am. This is how I was born. Right. Like, I can't change that. But like, and I train guys who are veterans, right, with PTSD. And I'm like, I think they're the best people to work with veterans with PTSD because they understand it better. I think alcoholics and addicts should work with alcoholics and addicts because they understand it, right? When I had a sober companion company, I only hired people who were sober. And I would have people apply that weren't. And I was like, you just don't get it. Like, even I struggle with someone lying in my face all the time. And I get the disease, right? And so I think there's the generational trauma there in the BIPOC community is a real thing. And I don't pretend to understand it. and that would be a mistake for me, I think.
And there's a huge well of really, really potent trauma and unsurfaced pain and anguish in that community. And so I think it's important to encourage new practitioners to come and join your training program, people who are BIPOC people, to get trained, or find BIPOC people to train them if that's what they need.
Right.
Because we've got to start making headway around this. We can't continue down this road of like bifurcated societies where all of the transformation systems and the healing that happens is happening as a result of being above a certain economic strata or a certain kind of cultural strata. So thank you for that clarity. Yeah. I'm wondering also if there's a 5-minute practice we could do on the show that would be of impact with people, or is it?
No, that's where I'm gonna pull my boundary card out and be like, no. Here's and I want to this, but I want to explain why, because I think it's important. So, because I see people doing free breath work out there, right, all the time, free circuit, and I think, God, they're really screwing over breath work. I would do this for free, but here's the problem with free: if you don't pay, you don't pay attention, and if you don't have any skin in the game, you're like, I'm good. And I have done this. I hate to admit it. I've done it myself. I went to a free breathwork class online, right? I tried it out. I was like, oh my God, I don't like this teacher's style or the thing. I don't like the music. 10 minutes in, I shut the computer. I'm gone, right? And so here's why. The first 10 to 15 minutes of circular breathwork is uncomfortable. It's hard. I don't like it. And I'm fighting back against it because my brain doesn't want me to shut it off. So if we only did 5-10 minutes, you'd walk away going, that sucked. You don't break through. You'd be like, that I did breathwork. I hated it. It was terrible. You don't break through the barrier that exists around 15 minutes and get to the other side. I think 20 minutes minimum, but half an hour is ideal time. So that's why I don't do it. People ask me all the time, well, can we just try 5 minutes? I'm like, there's other techniques that are great for 5 minutes, coherent breathing in and out through the nose and different things. But the circular breathwork, that particular style, needs a longer time to have the experience. And then you need grounding afterwards. You can't just get up after that. And why would you want to? All the best parts are after the breath work, after you did all the work, right? I always say, listen, just enjoy that. You didn't come here for the breathing technique. You came here to feel amazing afterwards. There's plenty of time to get up and start arguing with people on Facebook and let them know they're wrong.
So there's a kind of savasana integration period that occurs at the end.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, you need to get grounded, and you need to get back into your body and back into yourself. You don't want to get up after breath work and get in the car and drive. You don't want to text or call any exes. That's always a terrible idea, but especially after breath work.
We had a guest recently who's, I think, the niece of Greg, who does heavy metal yoga. So it's super hardcore sounds, and they do the yoga in that environment. And you mentioned that some of the music you like to play during your breathwork sessions is Zeppelin and these other things. Yeah. So sort of, if you would, poke holes in the culture of, healing modalities that are adopting this sort of everything has to be singing bowls and all of that stuff.
I mean, I could do that for hours, but it's just when I got there, when I found this work, it was, it was aliens and spirit animals and, Mercury's in retrograde. And I'm like, stop blaming your messy life on Mercury in retrograde. You made it a shit show. Like, let's clean it up. Like, you got to own it. Right. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't that guy. And I realized, like, if I'm going to do this, I have to do this as who I really am. I don't know if people are going to like that or not. And there was a lot of pushback. There was pushback when I put my classes online from the old school teachers who were like, you can't teach this online. It's not safe. And I go, why? And they're like, well, you're not there in the room with someone. I'm like, yeah, that's actually safer. I actually think people will be able to release, especially certain guys will be able to release even more from their home in their safe space. A lot of people don't want to cry next to a stranger in a class, or they certainly don't want to cry next to Janet from HR if we're doing a corporate event, in the class. So that's why I knew that this, and I would argue with some of these people, and they're like, well, what if somebody gets in the car and drives afterwards? I'm like, isn't that what they do after an in-person class? Like this, they can actually stay on the floor longer, right? So, and then guess what happened? COVID happened. and everything got shut down. And all those people that gave me shit, they all went online. And I was like, wait, I thought you couldn't do this online. I thought it wasn't safe. You know, it's like such horse shit.
Well,
So the
this
spiritual community is filled with a bunch of bullshit, in my opinion.
right. It's extra. It's not needed. It's above and beyond. It's dressing.
Well,
But
And
here's a
wait,
question.
I got to say this one thing. I was teaching at this meditation studio, right? And I don't want to say judge the other teachers, but people would come in and be like, "Hey, everybody, how are you doing tonight?" And I'm like, whose voice is that? Like, that's not the voice you were using in the lobby. And I would walk in the room and they'd be like, "Listen, I just took the 101 to the 10 to the 405 to get to this class and almost just choke somebody out in the parking lot over a space. But if you can sit your ass down, I'm going to put gratitude and love in your heart." You know? And they're like, who's this guy? You know, who is this guy? You know?
So you mentioned that in your literature on your website and stuff that it's basically 99.9% safe, right? There's these things that can happen with the way that you might get cramps in your hands or in your feet or various things that occur. Is there a particular framework or condition of the body that you would say would limit your willingness to work with someone, or some kind of cautionary element, and why?
Yeah, I have turned people away. There are contraindications. There's a whole list of contraindications, you know, like a brain aneurysm and certain heart conditions, and pregnancy is one of them. Although I've had a pregnant woman in every class, I've had a pregnant woman in every single training. They usually wait till 3 songs in and then they raise their hand and then you go over and like, "What's going on?" They're like, "Is it okay to do this when you're pregnant?" You're like, "Don't you think you should have found out before the class even started?" So it's a contraindication. And the reason we have that list of contraindications is because this is America and people love to sue in America. That's the most sue happy culture in the world. And so, you know, you have to have that to protect yourself. The list comes from holotropic breathwork, which is not what I'm doing. And that's 3 hours of breathing. It's a lot more intense and it's in and out of the mouth, but it's there just for protection, for liability's sake. And the way I've kind of approached it is, if somebody comes with a contraindication, doesn't tell me, and just, you know, it's up to them. It's their responsibility to read this thing before the class, and they're fine. They're fine. But if they ask me about it, then I'm like, nah, I don't think it's, you know, don't come.
Because their mental framework is already predispositioned to have some sort of negative experience.
Exactly. It's kind of like psychedelics. If you think you're going to have a bad trip, you're going to have a bad trip. So it's like that. If you think I'm going to be fine, you're going to be fine. I have seen some things with bipolar that I don't recommend if you're not medicated on bipolar. I don't think breath work is for you. You know, stuff like
what about
that.
taking a big bong rip before coming to
I've had
work?
people do that. I've smelt people drinking, you know, before coming. It's like, you don't need to do anything. The breath work is the thing. You don't need a thing. I was like that when I was a teenager, like, oh, the Gravitron at the fair is so cool, but it'd be more cool if I was stoned on the Gravitron. Like, everything's better stoned, right? So
in what way has your thyroid condition been improved by this?
the thyroid condition went away. I don't know. It just, I was cold plunging and it's gone. Like, so that's not a thing.
So it's been cold plunging that's been the thing that
I believe that. The alopecia, ironically, I grow hair now, but it's all these little baby white hairs. And so I have to shave, which is a huge pain in the ass. I've got like the worst of both worlds. My wife's like, "You got to shave. You've got all these little white hairs sticking out." And so it's such a pain in the
You're gonna
ass.
look like Yoda.
So when you do cold plunge, do you have a breathing practice that you use?
I do. You know, when I teach people who are new to it, I think the key is to try to get them breathing before they get in the cold plunge, because the tendency is just to get in and then be like, "Oh my God," and just tense up and then hold your breath, which is the worst thing to do. Right. And and I always emphasize this. You don't do Wim Hof like breath holds. You don't do circular breath work in the water. You don't do any of that stuff in the water. People have actually died doing Wim Hof breath holds in the water, unfortunately, because you can pass out and drown. So I think to get the nervous system calm as you're stepping in, you know, in through the nose, out through the mouth, just and then to do that again, and then step in as you exhale, right? Inhale, step that other foot in, and then inhale, exhale and sit down, and you're like, oh, and then wait, and then you're like, keep breathing in through the nose, and then so you gotta like, and so you got to get them to keep breathing. And then eventually the place you want to get to is just a relaxed in and out through the nose in the water, just a calm, coherent kind of breathing, which is just calming your nervous system down in the water. So that the best way to do that is in and out through the nose as relaxed as you can. People overdo the cold plunge. I have to say this, like they push it too hard. They try to get it as cold as they can.
33, man.
As fast as they can, and then do it for as long as they can. I'm like, you're fucking overdoing this, one. And two, there's an adaptation process that happens, and you're screwing yourself out of the adaptation process, which is what I learned as a trainer. It's like, if someone's brand new to working out, you don't want to go 6 or 7 days a week for an hour. Then where are you going to go from there? You lose the place to build on that. So you want to start in a low, you want to start 2 or 3 times a week, 30 minutes of working out, right? And then build on that. And then your body adapts and grows. And so you lose all the gains you would get in the adaptation process. I think the same thing with the cold plunge. Like people overdo it too fast, too soon.
Yeah, for sure.
And I have a blue cube, right? Which blue cube is like the Bentley of cold plunges. It's like the best you can get. They're not cheap. They're the most expensive cold plunge out there, but they're the best. They're the number one. They're what goes in the commercial facility. It has a 3-speed motor on it, and you turn up the motor, and the water's just ripping like a raging river, and that just rips the heat barrier off your body. And it feels like
if you stay still, you get like a 2-centimeter heat barrier. The water around your body will eventually change and adapt to you. So yeah, it changes all.
What's great about the blue cube is that I'll have a couple buddies over and we'll be doing it, and people are in different places, where they can tolerate. So some guys will put on the motor and some guys won't. So you can change the temperature like that with this motor, whereas you wouldn't be able to do that in a regular cold plunge.
Yeah.
That's why they're great for commercial facilities.
And what commercial application are we talking about?
Well, there's
why
a lot
would
of
someone
places,
want a cold plunge in their commercial?
a lot of places are doing this now with saunas and cold plunges. And
okay.
These
I see what you
wellness
mean.
places. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you
And
thought
Jim-
like you go into a movie theater and there's a cold plunge.
I don't know, like industrial. I'm like, is there something about me getting in the cold plunge before I make silicon wafers going to be important? I don't know. Like, is AI going to get better if I'm do cold plunge before?
I do it because my body just is so much better. Like it just takes the inflammation out of my body. Like right now, my knee hurts, my rib hurts, my back hurts, everything hurts. And then I get in the cold plunge. I do the sauna and cold plunge together, contrast therapy. I do that, and like all the pain is gone. And the next day I'm not sore. And I'm like, holy shit, I'm not sore. Like I can go to jujitsu today. Whereas when I'm not doing it, I'm like, I feel like I've been run over by a bus.
God, there's that, this kind of goes back to what you said earlier. I know I have this desire that no longer need maintenance. I have this desire to like hit this place in life where it's all done now. I'm all okay.
Yeah.
And hearing you, I'm like, no, you got to just keep that maintenance going.
Yeah, there's this other thing. So I have a float tank in my house, a sensory deprivation tank. And people are like, holy shit, I'm like, it takes a lot to keep this on a normal plane of like a regular person operating in the world. But the float tank is amazing because it's like, people have been meditating for 20 years. You can get there pretty quickly in the float tank. I've been actually doing the float tank for 20 years and I love it. And it's the only thing that isn't hard. Everything else is hard. Breathwork is hard. The cold plunge is hard. Jiu-jitsu is hard. Yoga is hard. The float tank, you just get in there and lay down and you let go. For some people, that's hard. Letting go.
Yeah.
Right.
Letting go of control. For some people, that is. For me, I've trained my body, my mind, everything to just completely let go when I get in that float tank. And so, I like to say all the time, like most of spiritual growth is about learning how to let go.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Yes. Amen. Whatever, choose the deity of your choice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm so inspired. And my personal experience with breath work was I did it the first time. I was really anxious about doing it. I had an experience. The experience was liberating.
Circular breath work, breathing through
Yeah.
the mouth. And,
Yeah, for sure. And then the next time I went to do it, I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. I still have that anxiety. So I get the feeling of why. So as someone who's habituated to it,
let's step back to that. Why do you think that was? You had that feeling of like, I don't want to do this.
I think for me, physical sensation and the discomfort of physical sensation is part of it.
It wasn't the emotional cracking you open and having the emotions you were afraid to go down that road.
Well, I was just about to say there is an element of the emotional piece, which in my particular biography, my framework, it's like I was raised to be emotionally cracked open, and it's like borders on performative in some points. And I literally was not sure I really wanted to feel what's underneath all of that. Right. So literally it was about resisting the experience of meeting myself.
Okay. Yeah. I think so. That's a common thing. People will come to class their first time, have this huge experience, right? Or they're caught up in the experience of all the physical sensations because they just don't expect that to happen. So they can't sort of get to the emotional level because they're so just thrown off and shocked by all the physical stuff that takes place. But they come up to me and oh my God, that was incredible. I'm going to come to your class every week. And and then I never see them again because they don't want to go there. And
yeah, people don't want to feel what gets released.
But and I'm
like, go through it. You don't understand.
Right? You don't understand. There's so much. Your life can be completely different if you show up for a while and keep doing this work for you don't have to do it forever. But if you did it for a couple weeks or a couple months, it would clear out just layers of stuff, and you would walk around the planet as a different person. But I can't make people I can't make people sober. I can't make people show up for breath work. You know, you have to want a different life. You have to want a different experience. And for me, it just woke me up in a way that I had never been woke. I felt something spiritual that I'd never felt before. It woke me up in a way that I went, oh my God, like I have to do this every day. And I did it every day for a year, and it changed me.
So if people wanted to get more connected to you and experience this either online or, you know, wherever you might do in-person stuff, how do they find that?
I have a website, Breathe with JP, BREATHEWITH JP. It's not breath with JP, it's Breathe with JP. So breathewithjp.com. And I have another website where all the courses are online. I have a bunch of courses online too. I have my trainings online. I don't do a lot of in-person anymore. I mostly do online. I have a class on Zoom every Sunday, and people come to that live class, which is 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern. And people who can't make the live time sign up and do the replay. There's a 5-day replay for that class if you're in a different time zone or you can't make it Sunday morning. So there's a 5-day replay for that. I have that every week. I do that every week. I only do classes in person once in a great while now, like in Oregon, where I live in Bend, Oregon. I'm doing one in LA next week. And I do 2 in-person trainings a year. And I keep those really small. So those usually fill up if you want to do that.
So as in terms of training to be a breath work practitioner.
Yeah. I've been teaching people I've certified over 3,000 people in the last 9 years in my style of breath work, my method of breath work. And my main objective is to the goal here is to take people through safely and effectively. That's the goal, to hold a safe space, to prepare them properly. Because when I found breathwork, they wouldn't tell people that tetany was going to happen to them. Can you imagine your hands grabbing? You think you're having a stroke if someone doesn't prepare you properly for this, right? Yeah. And they wouldn't say this is going to happen and that's going to happen. And there was a lot they were leaving off. And a lot of people want the science behind it. So I got a little bit of the science in there. And so I take people through and I tell my students, like, you can teach this, however you want. I'm just showing you my way of doing it. And then you can do it however you want. And if you want to go work with a specific population, whether that's BIPOC or veterans or whatever, please do. Please. Like, that's what a couple of my people have worked in prisons with people, and it's just, it's incredible to me that I get to pass it on. That's really my focus now, is to train other people. And then I put the courses online as well, the trainings online, so people from all over the world have done my online teacher training. So you could start that right away. And then I certify people through that. And I hold a Q&A session every couple months to continue to support my students. And so that's really my goal now, is to teach other people how to go out there and do this work.
So with regards to the distinction between what you teach and the way that you host, how does that differ from holotropic? You made a distinction earlier in the conversation. You mentioned length in terms of time. What other distinctions might be about your practice versus holotropic, and why?
Holotropic is amazing. It was created by Stan Grof in the 60s when they said you can't use LSD anymore to treat your patients. They made LSD illegal. So he started using this style of breath work. They're similar in the way that they're both through the mouth. My style is 2 breaths in, 1 breath out, a breath in the belly, a breath in the chest, and then you let it out. Holotropic is just in and out. And holotropic, when it's done properly, it's an 8-hour day, right? And you have a person, they partner you up with this person, someone in there, a stranger or whatever, and you sit and breathe you lay down and breathe for 2 to 3 hours, and they sit with you. Not a facilitator running the event, the other person. And then you switch and you guys draw mandalas afterwards. So it's like an 8-hour event. And my joke is like, ain't nobody got time for that. Like, so like, who's got time for 8 hours of breathing and mandalas? I don't. So my class is very modernized. The active breathing in my class is 30 minutes, which I think is enough to create a really powerful effect. And then I have a bunch of grounding stuff I do afterwards, and I do a short Q&A at the end. And it's very modernized. I'm trying to get people to do this work who would never do this work. You know, stressed out moms, firefighters with, PTSD, construction workers, just everyday people who would never
Nurses.
Yeah.
Well, it seems like just being alive in this day and age is stressful for everybody.
Yeah. I mean, my classes have themes. Last week's theme was like digital detox from news and social media and technology, right? Like we're all got that. We're all like overwhelmed, like, holy shit, what's going on now? Our brains aren't meant to process this kind of stuff every day, like all this news from all over the world. We're not designed for that. But there's different themes every week for my online classes. But I always tell people, like, it doesn't matter if the theme is, technology or anger, sadness, and grief. The breath work is going to give you whatever it is you need at that time. So if you're struggling with a relationship breakup, if you're struggling with grief, if you're struggling with anger, it's going to work on that. It's going to work on that thing that you need. And I'm just a guide and helping facilitate it. The breath work's going to do the thing. And so don't come or not come because of a theme. Just show up and do it and see what's available to you. And here's the wild part of this. We should have talked about this earlier. It's like, there's a replay, right? So it's 5-day replay. You could do the same exact class, literally in the right context, the same exact class over and over for 5 days. And you're going to have a different experience every time with the same class, because you're stripping away layers in the nervous system that need to be stripped away. So one day it might be this and another day it might be that,
So there's so many, I lost it. I was about to ask an insightful question. I'm always proud of my questions.
We'll trust you. Yeah, we'll trust that that's so. Well, partly, Jon Paul, when you were talking about how the same class could have a different experience, reminds me of that Greek philosophy phrase of you never step in the same stream twice. And, just every moment is unique in itself. And so there may be a recorded class, but the moment in which one's participating with that class is unique to that moment.
Yeah. Everything in this moment will never come again. I will never see you guys the same way again. I'll never have coffee with my wife just like this again. And my children will never be these ages again. Just knowing that should take out every bitter taste there is from my heart. It's just like, let me just know that this is never going to happen again. Can I just be here in this moment right now? It's like,
how have you learned to hold that sacredness in you consistently?
It's not always consistent, and I'm not always holding it. And so I made a decision after doing this work for a while that I'm just going to live with an open heart. And it's really it's not always comfortable to live with an open heart, right? Like it's not always comfortable to be vulnerable. When I was a kid in South Boston, I was very vulnerable and sensitive, and the environment didn't allow for that. And I've learned that your greatest wound can become your greatest gift. And that is like one of the things that really sets me apart from other people doing this work, is like I allow that vulnerability in my teacher trainings and in my classes and stuff like that. And I tell people, like, listen, everybody wants to feel the joy and the love and the gratitude in their heart. Nobody wants to feel the shame and the sadness and the disappointment and the grief and look at those ugly things, right? But you can't, it doesn't work that way. You can't close off your heart from the sadness and the grief and the shame and open it up to the love and the joy. You got to decide. So I made a decision. I'm going to allow it all. And so people are sometimes surprised when I'm like, you know, angry or this or that or whatever. I'm like, I'm a human being having a human experience. I'm not a fucking enlightened guru. Let's get that right off the bat. Like, first thing I say in my training is like, we're going to be here for 4 days. At some point, you're going to get annoyed with me, or I'm going to piss you off. Like, you love my authenticity and my genuineness and my edginess until it's directed at you.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, we're going to land this plane, and there's one question that we ask all of our guests, and it's important to us, and we really love the answers, but I'll just preface that there's no wrong answer.
Okay.
Got it. So Greg.
So Jon Paul, really thank you for your time with us and your vulnerability. Really appreciate that. So our final question: Eminem or Foo Fighters?
Holy shit, that's one of the hardest questions anyone's ever asked me on a podcast. Because my instinct is it depends on the song. It's a song to song basis, really. Because some Foo Fighters songs I would take over Eminem songs, and other Eminem songs I might take over Foo Fighters. Probably the Foo Fighters more so.
All right. Did you see their Tiny Desk concert that came out a few days ago?
No.
Oh, it's brilliant. If you're on YouTube, are you familiar with Tiny Desk concerts?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
All right. Foo Fighters were just on there a few days ago. It's brilliant.
You know, they were doing their final show of a tour a couple years ago here in Bend, and I had tickets with one of my best friends. We were so excited, and then Taylor died, the drummer.
Oh.
And I tried to help Taylor years ago, so it was like heartbreaking, you know. And so it's just. Yeah, I still haven't seen him. I still haven't gotten to see them yet. And you know, I don't know. It like those are the things sometimes. It's like it's hard to listen to the music. You know, Matthew Perry, we love music together, and he'd send me songs and for my classes and stuff like that. And you know, certain like music is a trigger, and it's amazing too. It just takes you on this. It's a time machine that can just take you on a journey back to a moment in your life that was incredible. Or that it was this, or that it was terrible, you know. I heard "The Thrill Is Gone" by B.B. King the other day, and I remember my ex-girlfriend, when we broke up, she's moving her stuff out, and she puts that song on, "The Thrill Is Gone," and I'm just like, oh God, I'm like, isn't this a little bit on the nose? You know what I mean? Like
twisting the knife a little bit.
Yeah. Like, it took me right back to that moment.
Talk about exposure therapy.
Well, again, Jon Paul, thank you very much. Blessings to you, your family, and all the people you interact with.
Thank you so much. This has been an incredible experience with you guys today. I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too.
Recording stopped.